support Opportunity International because they do great things for good people.
I support Opportunity International because my parents do and they got me onto it. But I support them because of all the amazing work that they're doing. I myself have put in lots of work to help other people's lives much better, and it's worth every minute I've spent on it. I enjoy helping others that are less fortunate than I am, and I enjoy talking to people in Colombia because I've actually been to Colombia to see the amazing work that Opportunity International has done. I'm super excited to be working more with them, and I like working with them.
The reason I support Opportunity International is because they help young kids start businesses in Colombia and all over the world.
I support Opportunity International is because they are changing lives. They are helping people out that are the less fortunate in Colombia. Dominican Republic is where I mainly help, but they help all over the world.
The reason why I support Opportunity International is because they help people who are in need.
Hi! The reason I support Opportunity International is because there's a lot of people with hopes and dreams and passions, and I love working with Opportunity International because they give the resources that people need to pursue those hopes and dreams and passions, and just watching that take place around the world is really amazing.
The reason why I like being involved in Opportunity International is because I like helping people help themselves.
The reason why I like helping Opportunity International is because we get to think of fun ways to help people.
Hi, my name is Maya, and I support Opportunity International because I'm so fortunate to have all the things that I do and live where I do, so I want to help people that aren't as fortunate.
I want to welcome you to this evening and our time together, from obstacles to opportunities. My name is Kim Buller, and I'm the Director of Philanthropy for Alberta. I would first like to begin tonight by taking this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Blackfoot and the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai, the Tsuut'ina, and the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, including Chiniki, Bearpaw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. As this program is being viewed across the country, I acknowledge that we represent many territories here. This evening is part of our spring campaign to raise much needed funds for our global clients. This spring initiative, as many events over these past 16 months, had to pivot from its original version. What had started as a series of golf events across the country morphed into what we now call 2021 Opportunity Open Open. The Open Open consists of 3 parts. Instead of being able to have formal golf tournaments, individuals and small groups are golfing around the country and using their time on the link to fundraise. The second part of this initiative in this evening's program is that you are part of this evening's program, and we are so glad you are here. Lastly, we have a nationwide silent auction. I want to encourage you to check out the auction, which closes tomorrow night, Friday, June 11th at 8 p.m. Mountain. We opened the program with some pretty amazing kids, and those kids raise money and support for the work of Opportunity. Many of them have handmade items that you will find in our auction, and we are so proud of their generosity and commitment to this work. We have an exciting night ahead of us. We have a message from HRH Princess Anne. We have a keynote address from Olympian Cindy Klassen, and sprinkled throughout, you will get to see more of the work that Opportunity does. In a minute, we will hear from Dan Murray. Dan is the CEO of Opportunity International, and he lives in St. Catharines, Ontario. He's been CEO for over 2 years, and his background includes engineering, entrepreneurship, pastoring, and he was the former CEO of Teen Challenge before joining the OIT. He lives with his wife, Brenda, and lovely Beagle Finnegan, and has grown children and children-in-law that he sees when he can. But before we hear from Dan, I am so pleased to introduce opening remarks from Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal Princess Anne. She has been a patron of Opportunity for over 20 years, and she has traveled and seen the work firsthand of Opportunity on the ground. We are so grateful for her ongoing support in the work to eradicate global poverty. Our keynote speaker tonight, Cindy Klassen, and the Princess Royal share one interesting fact. They're both former Olympians. Princess Anne was the first member of the royal family to compete in the Olympic Games when she rode the Queen's horse Goodwill in the 1976 Montreal Summer Olympics. Here is Her Royal Highness.
As patron of Opportunity International UK, I'm pleased to welcome you to today's event. The last year has challenged us all, but it has not changed the overriding objective of Opportunity International. There has been much sadness and grief in the world, and as so often happens, conditions have been much more difficult in developing countries. For many families living in poverty, the impact of the pandemic has been a disaster. For us, COVID-19 lockdowns have probably helped keep us safe, but they have challenged small businesses. For many families in the countries we serve, staying home, being unable to work and earn money is a life or death situation. Many have only a small buffer before they run out of food. We cannot afford to wait for conditions to improve before we help. Quite the opposite. The rebuilding of lives needs to start now. Opportunity International is helping to end poverty, one family and one community at a time. By providing small loans and training, we help our clients to grow their businesses and generate a sustainable income so they can lift themselves and their families out of poverty with dignity. We increase access to life-saving healthcare and quality education, utilizing high-tech digital solutions. We address food security by helping rural families transform small farms into productive enterprises. And we strengthen communities to reduce the risk of human trafficking and domestic violence, creating a new future for generations to come. As Opportunity International UK's patron for over 2 decades, I have seen how well-equipped Opportunity is to help families recover after crisis. I've had the chance to see this work in action and have met some of the inspiring clients whose lives have been changed. One particular woman, Pamela, comes to mind. With Opportunity's assistance, Pamela began an organic mushroom farm to help provide for her 2 children. I visited Pamela's farm in Ghana over a decade ago and was moved by her entrepreneurial spirit. Years later, Pamela has expanded her business and now trains students in mushroom production, providing opportunities for her community to develop as well. Over the last 2 decades, the world has been able to halve global poverty. But this extraordinary advancement is under immediate threat unless we act. They need us to believe in them. Entrepreneurial families have always been the economic engines of local communities. I truly believe the empowerment of women and the education of children can break the cycle of poverty for good. Our support today has never been more vital. Together, we can make a commitment to those who feel they have no one else. We can remind them that they are not alone and that we are with them. Thank you.
Well, good evening and welcome to this webinar about turning obstacles into opportunities. My name is Dan Murray and I'm the CEO of Opportunity International Canada. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the work of Opportunity International Canada. And I'd like to put a special shout out of thanks to our event sponsors. You know, it's a huge personal honor to share the podium this evening with 2 amazing women, Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal Princess Anne, and Cindy Klassen, one of Canada's most decorated Olympians. We're very grateful to Her Royal Highness Princess Anne for her remarks tonight and for her personal interest and support as patron for our sister organization, Opportunity International United Kingdom, or OIUK as they are known to us. Our relationship with OIUK is a strong reminder that we are linked together with our global partners as we work together to combat poverty through the opportunity of financial inclusion and sustainable livelihoods. We are so much stronger together. In Canada, we are seeing the beginning of the end of the pandemic, and there is a sense of hope that we can soon reconnect in person with friends and loved ones and get back to business more or less as normal. However, this is not the reality in many of the countries where we serve. As Princess Anne noted, the impact has been a disaster. A shortage of vaccines combined with the economic impossibility of extended shutdowns has resulted in a frustrating increase in infection rates. You only need to have watched the news out of India over the past few weeks to get a sense of the issue on the ground with the record death rates. And it has struck close to home, with several partners reporting illness and even death among staff and or their families. Infection rates are also climbing again in Latin America, and throughout the regions where we serve, prolonged school shutdowns are reversing gains in education opportunities, especially for girls. So for our partners and their clients, COVID-19 is still very much a serious reality, both as a health crisis and as an economic disaster. For more than a year, we have stood strongly with our partners and clients. And with your support, we were able to assist with partner liquidity during the early stages of the pandemic lockdowns. We've also been able to help our partners provide creative and compassionate support to their clients, helping them survive now so that they can thrive later. The clients we serve have long demonstrated profound resiliency in the face of incredible obstacles, all from a determination to provide a better future for their family. Resiliency that has been quite evident throughout the pandemic. So we're not going anywhere. We intend to stand strongly with our partners and clients to help see them through this current set of challenges as they work to turn these obstacles into new opportunities. And speaking of resiliency, it is now my great privilege to introduce Cindy Klassen, someone who no doubt has profound experience turning obstacles into opportunity. Born and raised in Winnipeg, Cindy started her sports career as an ice hockey player and played for the Canadian women's junior national team. In 1998, Cindy made the switch from hockey to speed skating, and what a career in the sport she has had. Over the course of her career, Cindy has earned 115 international medals. Cindy was overall world champion in both 2003 and 2006, and set 6 world records. In 2002, she earned her first Olympic medal in Salt Lake City, a bronze for the 3,000 meter. During the Winter Olympics in Turin, Italy in 2006, Cindy became the first Canadian to win 5 medals in one Olympic Games, capturing 1 gold, 2 silvers, and 2 bronzes, and she was the flag bearer for the closing ceremonies. In October of 2010, she finished second in the 3,000 meter in the World Championships, and in the Worlds in 2011, 1 gold, following it up with a silver in 2012 as part of the team pursuit. Cindy remains tied with Clara Hughes as Canada's most decorated Olympian today and has received numerous awards, including the Bobby Rosenfeld Award as Canadian Female Athlete of the Year, not just once, but twice. And she was inducted into the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame in 2017. Besides having a unique connection to Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, as they are both former Olympians, Cindy also has one more unique tie to the royals. Cindy is one of the few living people, other than a reigning monarch, to be featured on coinage, as in 2009, she was featured on a special edition quarter. In 2015, Cindy retired from speed skating and she joined the Calgary Police Service as a constable. She is married to Matt and they have a 1-year-old daughter, Phoebe. Cindy has been a great friend too and tireless supporter of Opportunity International Canada, and I am delighted to welcome her this evening as our keynote speaker. Welcome, Cindy.
Good evening. It's an honor to be a part of this event and to have a chance to share a bit of my story with all of you. Life seems to have flipped upside down over the last year and a bit, And I know we've all had to go through changes, and for some of us, quite major changes. So I thought I'd share a couple of stories in my own life of how I was able to turn obstacles into opportunities. I know that everyone's story is unique, and we all go through experiences differently. So I by no means think that what I have gone through is as hard as what you are going through or may go through in the future. But I do believe that all of us can use our obstacles as opportunities to become more resilient. And I'll share 2 examples tonight, and hopefully they can be an encouragement to you. The first point I want to share with you is about turning your obstacles into opportunities by learning from them. So I grew up in Winnipeg in a family of 6, and sports were a big part of my life. I played as many sports as I could get my hands on, but my main sport was hockey. And at a young age, I found out that women's hockey was going to be in the Olympics for the very first time in 1998. I'd be 18 years old at that time, so I thought it was the perfect opportunity, and that quickly became my dream in life. So when I was growing up, there weren't many girls playing hockey at the time, so I was always playing with the boys. And I made the top teams in boys hockey until I was about 16 years old, and then the guys just got too big for me with hitting, body checking. So I switched to a women's league, and I was competing with women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. But I was always improving, and I felt like I was getting closer and closer to my dream of representing Canada at the Olympics one day. So in 1997, I was 17 years old, and it was a year before the Olympic Games, and I got a call to come out to Calgary and try out for the women's national team. I went out and spent a weekend doing scrimmages and practices, and I felt that the tryouts had gone really well. Well, upon returning to Winnipeg, I got the phone call that I had been cut, and I was completely devastated and so heartbroken. I felt like my whole life was gearing up for that opportunity to compete at the Olympics in women's hockey, and now my dreams were dashed, and I was kind of at a loss of what to do next. So obstacles and setbacks, they can really bring you down in spirit. And it's so easy to ask, why me? Unfortunately, the easiest thing to do is also the worst thing to do, as it can keep you in a pattern of unconstructive thoughts. And that's something I did at first after being cut from the team. You know, I had this really pessimistic attitude, and I thought, if I hadn't made it this time, what were the chances of making the Olympics the next go around? And the pain got better, but every time I heard talk of the Olympics, that were less than a year away, I would get that pit in my stomach as I was still hurting inside. Well, what I really needed to do was to use that setback as a learning opportunity and think about how I could use it to grow and move forward. However, it would take a bit of time before I would figure that out. So I was entering my first year of university. I was 18 years old. High school sports had ended for me, so no more basketball, volleyball, and badminton that went along with my hockey. I just had hockey on my plate now, and I needed something else to do. So my parents suggested speed skating. Well, my first reaction was absolutely not, because there was no way I was going to put on one of those tight skin suits, and the long blades, they just look funny to me. But my parents had a connection at the local club, and they kept pushing me. And I think I was thinking just more or less to get them off my back or to make them happy. I would go out to my first practice. So I went out to that practice, and I thought it would be just like hockey, but faster because the blades are so long. Well, boy, was I in for a surprise, as I could barely stand up on the blades because they were so different from hockey skates. So there I was, 18 years old, just struggling to make my way around the ice surface, and little 5-year-old kids were flying past me. So it was a very humbling experience. My parents said I was pretty quiet the first few times I came home from practices, and they thought for sure I was going to give it up. However, to me, it was a challenge, and I wanted to improve. And I remember watching the '98 Olympics on TV and just being glued to the television set, not to watch hockey, but to watch speed skating. And I was just amazed just watching our speed skating team, the Canadian team, do so well at those Olympics. I saw Katrina Lemaidon win gold in the 500 meter, and then Susan Ock, who's from Winnipeg, won silver in the same event. And I was so inspired by those skaters, and a new dream was planted in my heart of one day competing for Canada in speed skating. But I didn't tell anybody that dream because I knew they'd laugh at me because I was still so bad at the sport at that point. So coming back to learning, as you know, I had that setback in hockey, but to be honest, I don't know if I had put all of my heart and soul into the sport like I should have. I was always naturally talented in sports, so playing hockey came easy to me. The worst part of my game was my slap shot, and my dad was always encouraging me to work on it by taking shots on the driveway. I did take his advice from time to time, but I more or less tended to lean on the talent I had, And then I didn't feel the need to put those extra hours into my sport. While coming into a new sport where I could barely keep up with 5-year-olds at my first practice, made me realize that if I wanted to make it anywhere in the sport, I would have to do something different. I would have to pour all of my might into it. I had learned from my setback in hockey that I wasn't just going to get by on my natural talent. And even though I had a mountain to climb, I was so determined and so focused, and I kept my eyes on the goal. After that first year of skating, I was just at the club level. I hadn't made the provincial team or anything like that, so I didn't have a group to train with in the off season during the summer. I had an idea of some of the drills I could do based off the season I had just gone through, but I was basically on my own. So I started hitting the weight room, and I joined an inline speed skating group just to keep up my fitness and to be in that low position that speed skaters always skate in. And then I had an old Canadian Tire pamphlet that had fitness drills for hockey. And I figured, well, speed skaters have big legs, so I would just take the leg workouts and work on them every week throughout the summer. However, I still skated like a hockey player, so I had a lot of ground that I needed to make up in order to learn the technique of how speed skaters just seem to glide across the ice so effortlessly. And I knew this was something that would take countless hours to learn. So I had recordings on VHS tapes of the '98 Olympics, and I watched those over and over again, just visualizing myself skating the same way as them. And I also made a deal with myself. So going into my second year of skating, I was still young enough to qualify for the Canada Games that were going to be held that year. So I said to myself, if I qualified for the Canada Games, then in my third year of skating, I would move out to Calgary and train where the national team was training out of. Well, in my second year of skating, not only did I make the Canada Games team, but I ended up surprising myself by making the junior national team and winning 2 medals at the Junior Worlds in Norway. And that kind of decided it for me. So in my third year, I moved out to Calgary and surprised myself again by making the national team in my third year of skating. And I kept that lesson with me that I learned from being cut in hockey. If I wanted to do my best in speed skating, I couldn't just coast. In my mind, I needed to train harder than anyone out there, and that's what I worked towards. I was able to stand on the Olympic podium 6 times throughout my career. And of course, I know I could have never done that without the support of my family and the amazing coaches and teammates I had. But I knew that out of all the factors that came into play, I learned through my setback in hockey that there's one thing that depended solely on myself, one thing I had control of, and that was my work ethic. Nobody could take that away from me, and it was all dependent on whether I was going to put 100% into my sport or not. So I'd like to encourage you to learn from your obstacles. What can you take from your setbacks, failures, etc., and use the next time hardship hits? I know it doesn't take the pain away, but if you use the situation to learn from it, then at least you didn't go through it for nothing. What's just one thing you can change for next time? There's always something there that you can reflect on to help you moving forward. And the next time a setback comes, you'll have a little bit more in your tool belt to face that adversity. Life is so short, and I think all of us want to grow to be better people and to use our lives to make a difference in this world. And I think making a difference is why you're here tonight. We all go through various seasons in our lives, and the things we've gone through, whether good or bad, are what have shaped us up until this moment. And the big question is, have we used those ups and downs to shape and refine our character in a positive way? Have we used them as learning points to help us in situations we may be facing right now? Maybe it's learning to forgive, practicing patience, or being more generous, and the list can go on and on with things one can work on. As I mentioned earlier, we sometimes get into situations and ask, why me? But can we turn that around and instead ask, why not me? Perhaps seeing your obstacles as a challenge and learning from them can in turn help someone else along the way. I think the greatest thing you can do with adversity is use it to help someone else. Maybe what you've learned is exactly what you can share with someone who needs that encouragement themselves. Or maybe it's just setting an example for those around you, your family, your friends, your peers. They're all watching. And if they see you walking through a setback with an attitude of seeking to learn from the situation, they might find the courage to do the same thing when they face obstacles of their own. When I think of my life and my daughter, I want to be a good example for her. I want her to see me going through obstacles, not with a doom or gloom attitude, but with optimism that I can use the situation to learn and grow. And I hope through my example that I can instill that attitude in her as well. So I just wanted to encourage you, don't waste the opportunities you have to learn from your obstacles. When you learn from difficulties in life, I believe that it changes your character for the better. It prepares you for the next time you face adversity, and it may also present you with opportunities to help others along their way. The second point I'd like to share is to let your obstacles be an opportunity to remember what's important in life, which I believe goes hand in hand with gratitude. And that's going to be different for everyone, but I'll share what I found out for myself. So in the winter of 2008, I was with my team in Berlin, Germany, just days away from the World Championships, when I got a message from my brother saying that my sister Lisa had been in an accident. It turns out that while on her way to work that morning, she was crossing a bridge that goes over the Red River, which is a large river in Winnipeg, when she hit a patch of ice and lost control of her vehicle and started sliding towards the guardrail. The way the snow was plowed on the bridge, it formed a sort of ramp. And so her vehicle ended up ramping up onto the guardrail. It teetered there for a moment before plummeting upside down to the frozen river below. Her vehicle partially broke through the ice, and instantly water started to spill into the car. Her seatbelt wouldn't come undone, so she was stuck in the vehicle for, they think, approximately 5 minutes, and submerged under the water for approximately 5 minutes. 2 men quickly came to her rescue, though, fortunately. One was an off-duty firefighter whose car wouldn't start, and a delay that cost him some time, but put him directly behind Lisa's vehicle at the time of the accident. The other one took a different route than he normally would, and he remembered that he had a filleting knife in his vehicle, which was the perfect tool needed to cut the seatbelt, and then they rescued her from the vehicle. They resuscitated her, and she was able to tell them her name and occupation before blacking out. Although these things fell into place perfectly, the outlook appeared grim, and the doctors were not offering much hope. I immediately booked the next flight home. Being in Germany, I knew it was going to be a long trip back to Winnipeg. And it was unlikely that I was going to make it back in time to see her alive. I knew that I was helpless to do anything, but as a Christian, I knew that I needed to pray. After praying and sending out a mass email to all the people I knew who would get on their knees for my sister, I felt completely at peace. I felt like God was telling me it's going to be okay, and I believed him. I could think clearly, and I felt calm inside at a time when, if I look back now, I should have been going out of my mind. I didn't know whether she would survive the accident or not, but God was my comfort, and I was able to find strength in him. When I arrived at the hospital in Winnipeg, I was taken to the intensive care unit, and I was just bracing myself for what I was going to see. As I walked up to her bed, I saw that she was intubated and therefore unable to speak, but she had a pen and paper where she was able to communicate through writing. I was startled to see an enormous amount of machines behind her beeping and making all sorts of different noises. When Lisa first arrived at the hospital, the fear was that she had brain damage due to being submerged for so long. But after passing that obstacle, the next hurdle was infection due to the dirty river water that was still in her lungs. And the doctors weren't very optimistic that she would recover. We had a constant stream of visitors coming through the hospital doors, offering support through a listening ear, prayer, and lots of cooking and baking. That first week did not look good. And near the end of the week, her condition got a lot worse. But suddenly and miraculously, she turned a corner very quickly. She was able to move from the ICU to step down after a week. And a week after that, she was able to go home. After realizing that she was going to be okay, but also knowing that she had a long road to recovery, I decided to end my season at that point and be home with her and my family. It was so amazing to be there with Lisa and my family as she recovered, and to get that extra time with them that I normally wouldn't because I'd be on the road competing. And one of the incredible things that has come out of this, because of her accident, Lisa and I have had many opportunities to speak together across Canada. So it's been really special to have those extra times with her and to be able to share our faith story and messages of hope to others. Through her accident, I again had a learning opportunity, just like with my hockey situation. I learned that I couldn't do this alone. Faith, family, and community were vital in helping me stay hopeful through the hard moments. But the big thing through all of this that I'd encourage for all of you is to let your obstacles be an opportunity to remind you of what's most important in life. For me, in this situation, I was reminded of how important my faith is, that it's number one in my life, but also how important family and friends are to me, that they're way more important than my career, accolades, or any medal that I had won. You know, it was such a tremendous honor and privilege to represent Canada at the Olympics and to stand on the podium for our country. But at the end of the day, The relationships in my life are far more important to me. Whenever I do school talks, I take my medals with me to show the kids and let them try them on. It's such an honor to be able to share my experience with them and hopefully inspire them in their lives. Well, I've noticed that the medals are starting to get a little bit tarnished. They have some rust spots. The ribbons aren't as crisp as they once were from people trying them on. And there are a few dings in them from people dropping them on the ground too. So the medals are basically falling apart. But you know what's not falling apart? All the memories that I have with my teammates and the amazing friendships I've made through my sport. So many great moments that I've shared with them through traveling, camps, and competitions. And those are memories that have stayed with me and the relationships that are still strong today. And that's the same with my family and friends outside of sport. I have these relationships that are so important to me and special memories of going through the ups and downs of life. And you know, when I get to the end of my life, as special as those moments in racing were to me, I'm not going to be asking to see my medals. They aren't going to bring me comfort. I'm going to want to have my family and friends around me, the relationships of substance that really matter in life. So allow your obstacles to be a sort of grounding moment. Take a pause and realize what's really important in life, what actually matters, and what's going to matter 10, 20, 30 years down the road. All of us will go through obstacles in life. And when we stop and reflect on what's really important, it can sometimes help to make our setbacks feel a tiny bit smaller. It doesn't mean they'll go away, but they may not loom as large as they once were. Because when we remember what's most important in life, it opens our heart to gratitude, and a thankful attitude changes our demeanor and brightens our lives. On that trip home to Winnipeg, I had a long time to reflect on all the memories I had with Lisa and how thankful I was for all the years I had with her up until that point. I believe that having a grateful heart helped me get through that long trip home without going out of my mind. But we shouldn't wait for obstacles to have this mindset. Thankfulness is something that can be practiced every day. It's easy to get busy throughout the day, but if you can stop and take a second to think of some of the blessings in your life, they become easier to think of when you're going through a hard time. And there are countless things to be thankful for. Relationships you have in your life, a roof over your head, or food on your plate. When we stop and remember what we're thankful for, it brings joy into our lives and lifts our countenance. Also, shifting our focus from the obstacle in front of us to what's important in our lives can inspire us to take action on the things that really matter. Using the example of relationships, perhaps it will move us to rekindle that relationship that's gone sour over the years, or maybe to reach out to someone that we've lost touch with. After Lisa's accident, I could have gone back and finished my season. With the Vancouver Olympics only 2 years away, those races were pretty important. But I decided to use the situation as an opportunity to spend more time with her and my family, the things that really mattered to me. And it was the best decision I could have made. So when obstacles hit, take that opportunity to focus on what's important in life and allow those thoughts to remind you of what you're thankful for. It won't remove the adversity, but it will brighten your perspective to help you through. And perhaps it will also inspire you to make changes in your life and focus on what really matters to you. Lastly, I trust that all of you are here tonight because you believe in the work that OI is doing and because you want to make a difference. That is so incredible, especially with all that we have been going through this past year and a bit. Many businesses have been forced to shut down. Many jobs have been lost. There has been so much uncertainty, and yet you are here with hearts of compassion. So I know you're already turning your obstacles into opportunities to help others. And as all of you know, this pandemic has also hit third world countries hard. And I just want to commend all of you for helping to turn the obstacles of these men and women that these men and women are facing into opportunities for them. If you haven't already, I'd really encourage you to have a look at OI's website and read some of the powerful and inspiring stories of changed lives. It's amazing to hear of the courage and determination of these men and women that has propelled them to take steps in faith to conquer the obstacles in their lives and turn them into opportunities. And OI has provided them hope through financial solutions and training as they launch businesses which help to provide for their families and which create a positive impact in their communities too. As well, on OI's website, they speak about how they are responding during the pandemic. And there's one sentence that struck me. It says, "We do know this, now is not the time to withdraw. It is the time to stay." Yes, this pandemic has become a huge obstacle for probably the majority of the world. And I think for a lot of people, it's easy to just look inwardly, lose hope, shrink back, and withdraw. But just like OI, you have been selfless, even for the time you took to be a part of this event. And I just want to say thank you for having hearts of compassion. Thank you for graciously thinking of others. I want to wish all of you the best going forward, and I hope that whatever obstacles you are facing or may face in the future, that you will be able to see the opportunities in them and come out even stronger. Thank you.
My name is Amina, and my story is one of hope.
As a child, I remember the holes in the roof dripping water during the rain and waiting to see if my father, a tricycle driver, would come home with rice for dinner. After harvest time, my parents used to pick up scraps and leftovers just to ensure we could eat. When I was in school, I remember sewing together blank pages from old notebooks because we couldn't afford school supplies.
Our special Christmas lunch was a bowl of porridge. As a family, we had to survive on $4 a day.
No matter how hard my family worked, we seemed to be trapped in a cycle of poverty. But then we discovered about the small loans available from Opportunity International Australia. Mom had an idea to start a piggery business, so we took out a loan for $123 from one of Opportunity's microfinance partners. This was enough to buy free pigs and begin providing a better future for me and my sister.
My university education and my professional career would never have been possible without this opportunity.
Opportunity helps families in poverty grow small businesses, earn regular incomes, and improves their access to life-changing healthcare and education. They enable people uncertain of how they will survive to have dreams and a future, like me. But across the world, the COVID-19 pandemic has devastated millions of families in vulnerable communities. Every day, they wake up to poverty, sickness, and hunger. Imagine facing this pandemic in a slum where social distancing is virtually impossible, water is contaminated, and soap is a luxury. Then imagine being locked down, unable to run the business that enables you to feed your family. Schools have been closed, and when they reopen, many children won't be able to come back. They either have to work to put food on the table, or their families simply cannot afford it. Just like with a natural disaster or war, it's what happens in the aftermath that dictates the future. With this pandemic, that time begins now. With a small loan, families can rebuild the businesses that have been devastated by COVID-19. A small loan can help them get back on their feet so they can build a better life for their families. A small loan helped my mother break the cycle of poverty in our family. It enabled us to think about life beyond our next meal, to get an education, to see a path into the future.
The dreams I had as a child became reality. I was able to finish school, get a scholarship, and go to an American university.
I can pay it forward and create the same opportunities I had for other families in need. Breaking the poverty cycle does so much more than fix a leaky roof. Not only is my parents' house now renovated, but my sister is now a preschool teacher doing a PhD. Without my mom's courage, combined with a small loan, my family's life could have been very different.
I am a living proof of what's possible with an opportunity provided by someone like you. And in the aftermath of COVID-19, families in poverty need our help now more than ever. Together, we can make an impact. But there is no we without you. To make a real difference in the world, please partner with us today.
Thank you so much to Cindy. I don't know if I'm the only one on here who was doing a little bit of the dabbing, but what an encouragement. And just thank you so much on your perspective on how we can use all these times of obstacles, and turn them into opportunity. I want to also thank Amina for sharing her story there. Someone who received a loan, and we can see the effects it has on their family for generations. I am sure I am not alone when I share that over these past 16 months, I have had a touch more time on my hands than I've had in the past. And with this time, I, like many of you, leaned into maybe learning some new hobbies or picking up ones from before. I delved deep into that rabbit hole known as bullet journaling, or Bujo if you're in the know. I started doing puzzles and I really got into podcasts. But my kids also had to find new ways to occupy their time, and one stood out to me. My 14-year-old daughter started to get back into creating friendship bracelets, and I borrowed a couple here tonight. So this is one that she had finished, and then this was one that she's been recently working on. And as I was sort of watching these threads come together, I thought about what a great illustration this is in our connection and what our lives pre-pandemic looked like. I saw how our lives are like a series of threads, all intertwined and connected. Some of these threads weave their way into our lives on a daily basis. Friends, family, coworkers, those are our heavy-duty threads of connection weaving. And then there are those regular threads, things like book clubs or supper clubs, or maybe the parents we chat with when we sit at our kids' activities, or the ones we wave at the door and have a quick chat when we're dropping our kids off at school. Maybe it's small groups or other friendships. And then there's those threads that are less familiar but just as prevalent. Maybe it's your local barista at your coffee shop, or that cashier that you see regularly when you get your groceries. Each of those threads represent a relationship that binds us, and that connects us, and that grounds us in unity. And then overnight, 16 months ago, we went from normal daily forms of connection to this world of disconnection, where the ordinary, supper with friends, birthday parties, hugs and handshakes, and even smiles, they were affected. And all those threads that make up these points of connection were either drastically altered or completely severed. My world, like the rest of us here, was affected by a lack of connection. Isolation and distance became the necessity to keep others safe. To protect each other, we had to disconnect. But I learned something. I learned humanity has a superpower, that even in the midst of connection under attack, we will find ways to create unity. I participated in my first ever surprise by birthday party, where we had balloons and honking and singing out of the car windows. My book club moved from in-person to Zoom, and we learned you could just as easily have a glass of wine and talk very little about the book that way as well as in person. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that I experienced my first ever extended family Christmas over Zoom. Tonight, I can say quite confidently that each one of us has been affected by this loss of connection, and I do not diminish what any of you have gone through. But I also have to think about our clients. And I have to ask myself, what if my isolation not only affected all these points of connection in my life, what if it also included my inability to meet my and my family's basic needs? What if my very day-to-day loss of connection meant a loss of access to food, a loss of access of work or customers or transportation, even a lack of access to clean water or safe shelter? What if I lost all those threads of safety and security as well, and every point of my life was affected? That is the reality for many of our clients. Clients in Honduras, who not only had to shelter at home, but during COVID also saw all public transportation completely stop for over 6 months, as well as experiencing those devastating hurricanes in the fall. Clients in India, where the government months ago declared a victory over COVID, only to have the country experience this second wave of utter devastation, causing confusion and scarcity and death. Clients in Colombia, where schools are still closed 15 months in, affecting families being able to work, and kids, many with inadequate internet, falling drastically behind. For some of you here tonight, you are long-term supporters of the work of Opportunity International, and we are so grateful for your support. For others, this may be your first time hearing about the workings of Opportunity. Opportunity does so many amazing things to try to eradicate global poverty. I could talk for hours. I won't, but I could. But what I want you to take from today is our main goal. Our reason to exist is really quite simple. Our mission is to ensure financial inclusion for every person around the world. When Opportunity works with a client, we don't just add this incredibly important thread of financial services to their lives. We walk beside them. In India, we add the thread of health entrepreneurship, where women who've demonstrated leadership and financial responsibility within the loan program can undergo additional training and become leaders within their community by providing basic health care and, especially now more than ever, wisdom and emotional support, particularly in rural communities where there is very little support available. In Ghana, along with that financial thread where we focus on small to medium enterprises, we can add the thread of mentorship, where clients a little bit further down that business journey can mentor new businesses and new business owners, sharing best practices and encouraging one another. In Colombia, we add that thread of savings and loan groups where neighbors come together, provide collateral for one another, and receive a loan. Within these groups, friendships form, weekly training happens, and community is born. In Haiti, where we work with clients raising themselves out of ultra poverty, not only does our work there provide the beginnings of financial stability, but our loan officers go in person, even during COVID, each week to encourage, to teach, and to invest in lives. We know the threads of Opportunity work. 50 years ago, the very first Opportunity loan was given. The loan officer, an Edmontonian named Ross Clemenger, gave a loan to Carlos Moreno in Colombia, a spice trader. 50 years later, in 2021, we can show that our most recent global numbers from December of 2020 tell us we have over 19 million clients. And what is more important to remember than that number is that that is 19 million beautifully threaded stories. They are Amina's story. They are Pamela's story, shared by Her Royal Highness. And they are an illustration of something happening way more than financial services. They are stories of unity, of connection, of support, and of hope. Did you know that that very word unity, it's actually in our name? Opportunity literally contains the word unity, and it is at the core of the work that we do. It is estimated that the impact of COVID has set the fight against global poverty back at least a decade. We have decided to rise up and respond to that challenge. This spring, we set a bold and audacious goal over 4 weeks to raise $500,000 for those clients who need us now more than ever. We here in Canada are starting to see the signs of a return to normal. That is not happening in other places in the world. Their battle is still fully raging, and we need your help. Will you add your personal thread to this work? Because here's the deal. We can't do this work without you. We have secured over $200,000, and while that is amazing, we have a ways to go. We believe we can reach it. We absolutely know we need to try. And we need you to stand with us right now. I have one more surprise for you. And no, it is sadly not individual bracelet making kits coming to all your houses to just completely nail you with my visual illustration. Opportunity has a beautiful theme song that we wish to share with you tonight. Written and performed by Amber Bauer, an incredible musician who wanted to lend her talent and her voice to the work we do. She wrote this original song, and accompanying it for the first time tonight, we have videos featuring some of our amazing clients. As the music plays, I have 2 tasks for you. First, listen to her words. Take in the image of our implementing partners, of our loan officers, and of people doing the work to turn obstacles into opportunities. And 2, ask yourself what you can do to be a part of this. How does your thread fit into this story? And what can you do to stand beside us as we stand beside our clients? When the song is done, I will have a few final remarks, and we'll also provide ways you can join us, so be ready. We have a goal to reach, and we need your help. Have a listen. Here is Amber Bauer performing Unity.
Something about our Father fighting for his daughter, loved by a mother that gives a brother strength to pick up the pieces, continue dreaming, fight till life ceases with the war paint of grace and the hope of a better day, where the blessed will be first and the blind will see a world with equal opportunity, no longer shackled and drowning in our poverty. If we stand together in unity. Something about a seed planted by a community, a call to arms that gives a willing strength to pick up that jerry can and head for clean water 10 miles and back, marching for babies and land, where the blessed will be first and the blind will see a world with equal opportunity, no longer shackled and drowning in our poverty. If we stand together in unity. Sticks and stones have broken bones, so there's a fierce, mighty roaring undertow flowing through the ground as we pray, believing there will come a day where the last will be first and the blind will see a world with equal opportunity, no longer shackled in our poverty. If we stand together in unity.
I want to close tonight with some thank yous. First, thank you to Cindy. Thank you for sharing your story and for taking the time and inspiring all of us. Thank you to Her Royal Highness Princess Anne and for being boots on the ground and seeing and supporting our work. Thank you to Amber for sharing her music and Amina for sharing her story. Thank you to Dan for his remarks and to some of our youngest supporters who made that video. Thank you for your commitment to opportunity. And thank you to our incredible sponsors, CIBC Wood Gundy and R&R Investment, Trading Post, Valley Commons Winery, HFA Custom Art, Lumina Management, Wonderkind, Caldwell Services, Epcentrica, Avalanche Waste Management, and a very, very special thank you to our presenting sponsor, Dart Bryant, an amazing chartered accountant here in Calgary, who is a great friend of opportunity. Lastly, I want to thank you. It is no small thing to ask you to be here tonight. Thank you for taking the time. In just a moment, when I sign off, you will find a screen with a number of ways you can join us to bring financial inclusion to all. When that day comes, when we can finally tie off the rope to signal the end of global financial inequality, I know I want my thread to be woven through that story, and I hope I see yours there too. Thank you so much, and good night.
Something about our father fighting for his daughter, loved by a mother that gives a brother strength to pick up the pieces, continue dreaming, fight till life ceases with the war paint of grace and the hope straight. You pick up that jerry can and head for clean water 10 miles back, marching for babies in a land where the ice will be first and the blind will see a world with equal opportunity, no longer shackled and drowning in our poverty. If we stand together in unity. Sticks and stones have broken bones, so there's a fierce, mighty roaring undertow flowing through the ground as we pray.